Hello and welcome back to another video. Now that we are halfway through this year, let me recommend you top 9 books that I have read till now in this year. And it's going to be a mixed genre since I have read a lot of Korean, Japanese literature, then contemporary and historical fiction. So without wasting further time, let's get started with our first book, and that is Lajja by Taslima and Nasreen. Now this book, I was reading it for so long. मेरे टारगेट टाइम से ज़्यादा ही ले लिया इस बुक ने, but I was getting bored. लेकिन स्टोरी काफ़ी अच्छी है. So the story, it revolves around a Hindu family who lives in Bangladesh, and the plot is that of demolition of Babri Masjid. Basically, this book navigates the life of that family during this volatile period of violence, disturbances, and displacement of people. It has very good storyline, but there is one demerit in this book, and that is it is very heavy on facts. Like there are page after page where names are written of places which were ransacked by the mobs, and that is very meticulously integrated into this book, but it is very exhaustive when you start reading this book. Second book is Human Acts by Kang. Now this is one such book to say I remember very vividly because how traumatizing it was. Now the story is set against the backdrop of Gwangju uprising, or the May 18th democratization movement in South Korea. And the story starts on the night of 18th May, where this massacre occurred and hundreds of students were killed in that process. And those who survived are still living with that lingering trauma and visuals from that night, where maybe their comrade or friend or stranger who died in front of them, or maybe they could have had a future if this didn't happen. And I made it worse for myself. मैंने इसके बाद Youth of May वाला drama देखा. If you know how traumatizing that drama was. These two books were very heavy, right? Let's switch to fictional world. So our third book is The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by XOXO. Now this book, I have talked a lot about this book in my previous videos, and this is by far one of the best fictional books that I have read this year so far. The story is based on a very popular Korean folklore, and it is set in the sea realm of sea god with many mysterious creatures, interesting people, beautiful concept, and most importantly, अपन को क्या चाहिए होता है? Chemistry and tension between characters without spice. And ये सब इस book में है, like in full on anime and K-drama style. So if you are someone जिसे बहुत पसंद है K-drama या anime देखना, then you should read this book. वैसे भी I was just scrolling on Amazon and ये मेरी आंखों के सामने आ गया, and I'm glad that happened because मुझे पता नहीं चलता ऐसी भी books होती है. Let's move to the fourth book, and that is The 20th Wife, and this is a historical fiction which I have already talked about in one of my previous videos. So what makes historical fiction so special? Okay. First, Indian historical fiction की एक खास बात है, and that is इसका plot. The way author describes the surrounding, it feels like you are transported to that zone. Plus, most of the जो Mughal India की stories होती है, they are set in Lahore, Delhi, and Agra. So it feels like a heritage walk around these cities. And इसका जो royal demeanor, the conspiratorial and the enamored stories makes it so fascinating that you just can't keep this book down before you complete the entire story. The fifth book is Rao by N.S. Inamdar, again an historical fiction that inspired the movie Bajirao Mastani, but the narrative is a little different from that movie. So when I was reading this book, there was this constant sense of anxiety and restlessness in me. I don't know why, but this story was such that it made me feel that way. So if you have watched that movie, then you should read this because पढ़ने में अलग बात है and इसको देखने में अलग बात है. So do read this. मतलब बहुत ही अच्छा है ये story. Next we have Lucknow, After the Lamps Go Out. Now this is my first time reading a horror fiction, and it was a wonderful read. Like even though I was able to predict the plot आगे क्या होने वाला है, but still, book is set in Lucknow and the time period is around 1950s. As we know, Lucknow, apart from being the city of Nawab, it was also one of the important centers of 1857 revolt. Plus, it also houses a lot of British residencies, Havelis, colleges, and mausoleums that have been silent witnesses to all the atrocities and treachery committed against people, and that becomes the premise for our stories. It has 15 stories in it, and there are few that literally gives you goosebumps. And especially there are few stories on the doctor. There was one of two British surgeons, and तो डॉक्टर्स के बारे में थे. Yes. This book is I'm Not Jessica Chen by Liang. Now this book follows the story of a girl named Chen who wished to be like her cousin Jessica Chen, and one day she wished so, maybe out of anger, jealousy, or competition, which is quite normal in day-to-day life when you have relatives or cousins who seems to have everything they want academically and lifestyle-wise. So one day she wakes up as Jessica Chen, and what follows after that is that in the story. Next is Never Thought I Would End Up Here by the same author and Liang, and this is a very light enemy to lover trope story. The story follows this girl named Liang who is a Chinese American and hardly understands Chinese. And one day she curses her cousin during her wedding, and after that incident, her parents force her to go on this summer camp trip to China, where she explores different cities, understands her culture, and makes new friends. And during this journey, she falls for her long-time enemy come friend who becomes her partner during this trip. Last book of this video, XOXO. पूरा K-drama style वाला book था. The story follows that of a girl named Jenny Go who wanted to be a cellist and lives in LA, where she meets a boy named Jo who is also a part of boy band, which was unknown to her. Then something happens in between, and she had to go to Seoul. She got herself enrolled into Seoul Arts Academy, also in a pursuit to find this guy. It was a very wonderful read. Yeah, like I was swooning over certain scenes. And if you want to read something light, rom-com, then this is perfect. So that will be all for this video. I hope you were here till this point and enjoyed this. And I would love if you pick any of these books and read, and do share your views. Till then, we'll meet soon in the next video. Probably next video will be going to be on Maratha history, because last time when I made this video, I was very underprepared and मुझे पता नहीं था बोलना क्या है, and that was my first video. Lekin this time I have read substantial quantity of books, and I am very excited to share my thoughts on that, and literally you will love that. So stay tuned.